Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Monday, September 21st, 2009. This morning I wanted to go through some of the keyboard shortcuts in Cincom Smalltalk, both VisualWorks and Object Studio in the editors. And to do this, I've just brought up a browser, and what I'm going to do first is select this text inside the parentheses. Now let's say I wanted to get rid of those parentheses. What I do is I hold down Escape and then press a left parenthesis, and you see they go away. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the characters that I pressed. I've got that turned on. If I wanted to put parentheses back on, I again hold Escape and hit the Shift key with the parenthesis, of course, and that puts it back on. So now with it back off, let's say that I wanted to put something like braces around, either curly braces or square braces. Let's say curly braces. And now you see I've got curly braces around it instead of parentheses. Let's take that off by hitting it again. Now let's say that I wanted to put a block closure around that for some reason. I now hold Escape and the left bracket. That'll put it on. Escape and the left bracket will take it off. And you can again see which characters I'm pressing to make this happen. Those are some of the more odd keyboard shortcuts you can use that have interesting effects in Cincom Smalltalk. Now I want to go through a couple that have changed recently, and that is if true and if false. It used to be that if you hit Control T, you would get if true. You don't see that anymore. What you get actually is a Control key character in the text. So let's take that back out. And now what I want to do is find out how to do that. Well, what I want to do is hit Control Shift T, and I will get if true. Now if I want it if false, I hold Control Shift F. Now the reason it's Control Shift is that normally Control F in many editors is fine, and in fact in Cincom Smalltalk now it is fine. So if I start typing false here, it'll go ahead and find it for me. So let's get rid of this stuff, and that shows you how to do if true and if false. Another useful shortcut to keep in mind is replacement. Now you can pop up the menu and get this replace option here, and let's say I wanted to replace next put all with foo colon. I don't know why, I just want to do it. And let's say I want to replace just one, so I do this. Now let's say I decide, well, I'd like to go through each of these in turn because some of them I want to replace and some of them I don't. Control Shift R, and you see what I'm doing here. We'll replace the next one, then the next one, then the next one, and so on, and then I could stop. So I can replace these iteratively with Control Shift R, whereas if I really wanted to replace all of them, there is a replace all option right here in this dialog. But I can do this by hand with that keyboard shortcut if that's what I want to do instead. Another useful thing to keep in mind is Control V is paste, but what if you wanted to paste something that you had in the buffer recently but isn't really the top item anymore? Well, if you hold Control Shift V, you see that you get the last 5 things that are in the buffer. And that's an interesting thing to do and something that most editors don't support, and it's something a lot of people don't know you can do in Cincom Smalltalk. Now what if you wanted to change that option from the last 5 to, I don't know, the last 3 or the last 20? Well, if you go here and find Class, let's go to Paragraph Editor, and now what we're going to do is we're going to look for Add Previous, and there it is, Add Previous Selection. If you scroll down, you'll notice there's a 5 here. So let's change that to 10. Now while I had things paused and changed this to 10, I went ahead and copied a bunch of things into the buffer. So let's hit Control Shift V, and you now see after changing it to 10, I do have a bunch of things in the list. It's obviously longer than 5. So while this maybe ought to be a setting, you can change this buffer to be as big or as small as you like. Another thing you may not know about is if you're in an editing area and you wanted to bold something, if I hit Escape B, you notice it bolds. If I want to unbold, Escape Shift B, and it'll unbold it. Likewise, Escape I will italicize it, and Escape Shift I will unitalicize it. Another shortcut that's changed in this version of the product coming out is this. Let's say I wanted to take all of this text and move it over one tab stop. Select it and hit Tab. If I want to move it back, Shift Tab, and that moves it back. So tabbing will move it forward, Shift tabbing will move it back. And that about wraps up for Smalltalk Daily today. Until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.